Hey, morning everyone, it's Alex here. I was doing some release prep for 4 tunes that I have coming out at some point in the first half of this year on a local label, Ghost Snares, uh, managed by my good friends and fellow producers, Elkey, Slane, J-Doc, and I started going through opening the sessions and preparing everything to be exported and to send off. And I was like, I think I'll just put the camera on and share with people kind of the process, because it doesn't happen very often, and maybe there's some useful insight in terms of like the last stages of doing anything like this, and just kind of how I approach it and my thinking around some of the processes and decisions I've made in terms of whether I'm bouncing MIDI for individual parts and stuff like that, and just like the mix and everything. And it would also be good to kind of demo the tunes as they stand. So there's not going to be any actual music making, but we'll listen back through the tunes that are going to get a release. And I think this will be a nice kind of capping off of a lot of stuff that I've been working on stream over the last half a year or so. A lot of these, all of these tunes I've worked on at some point on stream. So, and I know some of my regular supporters and patrons have been fans of these ones, even to the point of naming one of them "Thank You, Baldwin." So, yeah, I thought let's just put the camera on and see what happens. It's going to be a lot of exporting, wait for files to export, but you know, my whole thing is kind of documenting every part of the creative process, including bouncing stuff at the end, which often, you know, there's often people don't speak about, or there's, and probably because it's just sitting around watching files export. But yeah, if you have any questions or want to ask anything, feel free to in the chat, and I'll get to those. So the first thing I've done is make a list of everything that I have to do, and I'm just going to export those, work through them in series, tick them off. If you're feeling kind of overwhelmed at the end of creating anything like an album or an EP, then, and I was talking to a student about this, towards the end it gets it's kind of there's almost a lot of admin involved towards the end of kind of making a tune, and especially if you're having it released by someone else, because you're going to have to prepare pre-masters, and that's after you've sent demos and everything, and it's going to be the kind of final fixes, if there are any. If you like, the big swathe of the creative work has been done and the tune exists as it stands, and what I'm going to be doing now is just sending the pre-master. So I'm going to take off all my mastering and leave some headroom so that Pete at the label can master them himself. And so I'm going to be exporting WAVs without any diver on. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is just save a version of this. So this track's called Hypnotise, and we'll give it a listen. Probably won't play the whole thing. And YouTube usually like marks them as copyright infringement after they've been released, annoyingly. Okay. Hypnotise. So this has kind of my my mastering chain on, which has just got some EQ, compression, the Shadow Hills mastering compressor. And some limiting. Yeah, okay. Should we give it a listen from the top? Quite a simple intro, sparse with, it's cool, like bongos. I've left all this stuff as MIDI. It's kind of collision synth thing. Some filtering on it. So mainly it's like an amen track really. It's really quite simple. Mainly this Reese, which is a sample. I think this is from an Aries sample pack. Just gonna skip forward just to hear the end. Just because I want to check for like things aren't hanging on too long. If you don't have much time to kind of go through and do all these things, then just I've bounced all these and listened to them in the car and played them out and everything. I've kind of gone through the processes. I don't want to do any more like amends on them. They don't need it, you know. It would be pointless. It'd be diminishing returns if I would like listening to it. It's completely done to me. But I just want to check the end, making sure there's no massive things hanging on, big delays or anything. Sweet, yeah, no, that's fine, isn't it? I've even put a fade on. Excellent. Best to do these things at the point. Okay, so, and I've also left a bit of the space at the beginning so that Pete has a clear bit of silence where he can fade into and everything. Great. Okay, so now we just need to make sure there's nothing on the master bus. Let's just see. I do have the last bouncer did of it as well, which is good because I can just see the level. Then I can see the loudest part of the tune, and that's kind of normally where I try and push the mastering around. So I'll master to the loudest point. Where is the last one of this? Is it in here? Just looking for the version that's missing. Maybe it's in Don. Probably what I mastered it around. Yeah, it's there. I think being quite organised over time pays off because I haven't been open this project for a while and everything's still in here and it's all good. It's all fine. So yeah, I mean, it's probably like, yeah, we can see we're just like squashed here. So I just want to check that there's some headroom for exporting. Oh yeah, plenty. Nice. Cool, that's perfect. So the thing with headroom, like if you're getting someone else to master it, like as long as it's not clipping above 0, like and you know, and by that, sorry, I mean peaking above 0, and which this isn't, then that's absolutely fine because the mastering engineer can adjust the gain of the overall sound before they start running it through anything. So, and I've also marked where that volume fade finishes on the master bus. There we go, so we've got that volume fade fully out there. Great. All right, I'm going to export this. We're going to go for WAV, no diver, 24 bit depth. And we want it to be from the very beginning, and it's going to 247. Great. And I'm going to export this, and it's going in my released. Or is it going in release? Let's put it in release for now. I might call this pre-master. Good. Sweet. All right, that's doing its thing. Hey, Worsley, how you doing? Oh, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad it's. Some people can't. They just can't get into that kind of frame of working, and there are like chaos. Organised chaos some people work in, don't they? I think it's like whatever. If you can make progress, it's like I don't like having to. I don't like the stress of not knowing where things are. I like to be really organised and ahead of time and everything like this. Especially, I think it's more saving time in the future. At the time it might be an easy thing to do. To just name something sick beat or whatever, but I know down the line that it'll be absolute chaos if I do that. So I kind of think about it's kind of saving future Alex time. But yeah, there's like the admin side at the end of the process, and you'll know this, Wesley, because you've released loads. Yeah, I know. Like I know plenty of producers who work in pretty chaotic conditions. And you can lead a horse to water, It's kind of like, because I always recommend to students, like, save your files like this, with this reverse date. Just do that. And if you create anything, always prefix it with your initials, because it's so easy. Anywhere you could search in Ableton, it's got everything I've ever done at AW. It's just like easy peasy. It's like a stitch in time saves two kind of thing. But yeah, I think it is totally like just touching back on your releasing or the admin side of things. Like it's definitely, I think it's good. I thought it was a good demonstration of doing this because you don't see this very often. No one wants to demo themselves exporting WAVs without prepping for pre-mastering, but I thought it would also be a good chance to kind of demo some of the tunes. So that one's done. Great, I can cross that off the list. Good. Got a little list, made a list. That feels good, right? But start building up momentum now. Look ahead is the next one. Okay, so... And I've put them all in a folder, all of the Ableton projects. I think the next step will be to... I'd like to give away the sessions with the release. So I'm not going to do that now. That's going to be a job nearer the time, because the mastering obviously has to happen now. So I'm going to... my process there will be to go methodically, channel by channel, through the track, and anything that's got MIDI that I've created or anything that's my presets, I'll leave in. And anything that's just audio, like, or sorry, other people's samples or other people's racks, wherever you use other people's sounds, I'll just bounce those so they're a stem, which I think is okay. I'll leave those in, and then, yeah, if you've got Ableton 11, you can get the project file with the release. And I might even just export the stems as well, so people can download those and remix them and stuff, or play with them, whatever they want to do. So this one's called Look Ahead. Media files are missing. I hate this. Nothing strikes fear into the heart of a producer as much as that. Media files are missing. Okay, that's all right. I know that. That's one of Nick's mastering plugins that I probably... It's here. That's fine. Okay. So okay, we'll just give this again. I've kind of been quite organised here by the look of it. So we've got another Amen track with this kind of cool... I've rinsed on units pad rack in these releases. So this one's called Look Ahead. Sorry, there is... It's quite funny because listening back to these and like there are bits I'm not entirely sold on, but like I've sent it to the Ghost Snares, liked all of these tracks. Got these kind of like cool, yeah, I think I'll just skip ahead a bit. We've got this like dread bass that comes in halfway through. Just listening to the end, make sure nothing's like overhanging. Thank you, Nathan. Worsley, good. That's fine, I'll leave that delay just hanging out, it could just fade out. What do you think the most amount of channels you've had on a project? So, this is a good question. Yes, it does, you're absolutely right. Like, this is why I generally keep everything, like, and some of these, I think, like these, you know, these kind of one shots, you could probably have those all. You could have those on one channel if you kind of think about it, like maybe old school samplers would have done. You know, where you've just got samples being triggered on the same line of MIDI in a tracker. But so I think probably back in the early days, you know, like 40 channels maybe for some stuff, because I didn't know what I was doing, so. But I fixed problems by just adding stuff. You know, I fixed not knowing by thinking I needed to just keep adding things, and that it wasn't hot, like a big enough drop, or it wasn't impactful enough because I didn't have enough going on. Whereas actually, I've realised that it's the opposite. Like, you want, you know, it's totally fine to kind of make sounds that are layered with lots of bits feeding into it. But you don't, you know, the fewer sounds and the louder you can keep them, and yeah, a mix does sound a million times better with less stuff in it. And thanks, Worsley. Yeah, this is a kind of like, I love that that sparkly sound, which is an on-unit thing, I think. Look ahead. Where is that? Where is it from? Is it this one? Yeah, it's an on-unit chord. Yeah, I like to keep things generally like reverbs, delays. I like to keep them all on sends, unless there's something really specific I'm doing, perhaps in the like. And I'll reach for Ableton stock stuff because it's a lower impact on the session. Like, I think it's all a balance, really. You know. But yeah, like the more channels, the more maths the computer has to do. I don't know, like it's probably infinitesimally different, but from a mixdown perspective, a psychological perspective, it's so much easier to handle fucking 20 channels than it is 40. Because I mix stuff for other people, and sometimes I get sent projects and there's like 50 channels or whatever, and some of them it's just like, you know, like multiple sub channels or multiple things like that are just, and some of them will be really quiet, and it's like, what is the point of this sound, you know? And like, I think there's something like from Phil. I'm going to start exporting this before I carry on. So we've got that too. Let's just take the mastering off, check the volume. I mean, this is probably the loudest bit, isn't it? Great, plenty of headroom. God, I've been a good boy in the past. 2, 3, 1. So yeah, where was I with the? Yeah, it's like sometimes film directors talk about it in terms of like things that read, like readability, and you know, like you could do stuff in real life, but when you've got a camera on someone or you're filming something, it's like, unless it's like really clear what's happening, it could just be missed. And I think the same is true for audio. If you can't hear a sound and it's not doing, you know, it's not kind of it's not adding to the whole, and it's you know, it's almost imperceptible. Sometimes that can work with certain things to add an aura, but like, particularly if it's a key bit in a tune, it's like, I just think there's something to be said for like if you want it to be heard in the tune, like, or if it's not being heard, like, is it really doing anything? Is it really doing anything, or are you just kind of layering sounds for the sake of it? I think it's like a fear thing as well, isn't it? It's like the longer you spend on a tune, we equate hard work to something being good, when in actual fact you could potentially write a really good tune in a day or an hour. You know, a good tune could be easy. You know, some of like the best music ever written came out, you know, and was recorded in a couple of hours and whatever. Like I think, and particularly in electronic music and more technical sounding things like jungle, dubstep, bass music, people equate hard work with good, and like hard work can make good tunes, and good tunes can be made without hard work. Like, but the two, they're not mutually inclusive. You know, a good tune doesn't have to have had been torturous for the person making it. It can just be a pleasant, easy process if you're in the right place. Okay, I didn't save a version of that, and that was... I'm not going to worry about that now. Just go back. Okay, cool. That's two tunes. Yeah, the guys chased me up on these this week, and it's like... I know it won't take me long when I get started. I just need to, like... just do it. This one's called Channel X, and this is like my... This is like 10 minutes long or something, really. Just, yeah, I think, and I think there's probably something to be said for, like, you know, Tim Reaper has been doing it for so long. You know, he's kind of like, he's probably you know, he's really well practiced at doing what he does, at being creative and making tunes, and he's got all that information from being a DJ and everything, you know, like, so his creative decisions, they're probably you know, more direct and easy for him to make. I think, and I think all that comes with time, you know, like, and practice. And the same for like Sully as well. He's another good example of that. Worsley, simple and complex, but they've probably both developed their own methods of like saving time and how they like to work. And if you do a complicated thing many times, it becomes easier, you know. So, like, to someone looking in for the first time, it might seem really complicated, but the person might have done it. You know, it's like rolling a cigarette or something. You know, the first time you do it, it's like, for the first few years, the roll-ups are a mess. But over time, you just get really good. And like, but then if you give it to someone who's never done it before, it's like, this is deceptively complex. You know, it's kind of, I don't know if that's a very good analogy, but okay. This one's called Channel X, and this is 26 channels, but it's like 9 minutes long, and there's a change in things. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It would like rolling anything. The first few times you do it, it's just like falls apart, and it's like, oh, this is so... I don't get what I'm doing wrong, you know. I've like... Yeah. Simon, yeah. And it's the same with like, I think, like, when you only ever see the finished product, don't you? Which has been through probably multiple iterations and is a summary of everything about that person's musical life at the point it was finished. You know, everything they've ever been, every performance they've ever done, every piece of music they've ever heard feeds in to this, to where they are. And so you really just like you're seeing the tip of the iceberg, you know, and perhaps when you're looking and you're hearing and you're listening again and again, you're the more of what's beneath the surface being revealed. This one's called Channel X. And this is like, I wanted to kind of like blend like psytrance, techno, trance, early trance stuff, you know, cosmiche with like kind of late 90s stuff, late 90s jungle, D&B. It's more D&B, there's not much chopping in this. Well, I like that sometimes. I like just rolling a break underneath things, you know. I wanted it to sound trippy, you know, be a journey. Yep, Simon, absolutely right. To learn about yourself as a music maker and discover great things, you have to keep making that music. And you do, like, you know, I think there's something to be said for, like, I've learned quite a lot teaching people over the last year, and one thing I've realised is that, like, you can give people the information, but they'll only gain knowledge themselves by applying it over time. You know, you can't teach someone to be an original music producer. You have to discover it for yourself, and it's a, you know, it's a long process, and you're always growing and you're always learning, and at times it can feel like you're just plateaued and you're not making any progress, but you definitely are. You just need to stick at it. It's like the good stuff only comes when you're, like, you know, 1,000 miles down the road. You have to keep going, like, because everyone is crap when they start, or that maybe that's not the right word. Everyone is raw. So it's quite simple, just like 808 business. Yeah, 10 songs will teach you more, absolutely. Like, because I got to the point with these tunes and was like, they're at this stage now where it's like, there are things that to me are like mistakes, or that I'm not quite sure about, but I like to do it as a bit of a psychological experiment, to just leave them in and have them released. And then I can say to myself, well, it's okay, because, like, that was released and people liked it and you weren't sure about it, so just, you know, that, like, as long as it's like 80% good. Yeah, I've learnt so much teaching. I've probably learnt more teaching than anything else, actually. Because then I have to test my knowledge as well, you know. Yeah, cheers, Worsley. Nice to see you, mate. I'll keep an eye out for the next releases. So I just want testing this is okay. Big ups. See you, man. Okay, so kind of like it starts to fade out and we get this kick coming in. And a 303. Thank you, Simon. Thanks. I was thinking a lot of like 8 static and that kind of vibe. Yeah. Like, what's that one? Looks like a flying saucer. The only thing is that I wish I kind of bought this 303 and the I think it comes here. I'll probably fucking overmaster this as well a bit much. But look at that, that's a bit loud. You can't see that, can you? Just listen to the end. Yeah, that's cool. And I'll export at 393. And I'm just gonna, it fades in at the beginning, so I'm not gonna worry about a fade happening. Let's just check my levels. Yeah, plenty of headroom for the mastering. But yeah, I've played these out on big systems and a party or two, and they always go down. They've gone down well. So that for me is like, okay, they're ready to be put out. You know, there's not much more I can do. I'm ready to let go of them. Simon, just on your breaks point. Yes, I do. Beat switching. No, break switching. Yes, I do. And you kind of mean like where you kind of cycle between them. Perhaps at the end of a 4-bar phrase or 8-bar phrase. A really good way to do that is follow actions. So just use follow actions in clip in the session view. So let me 393. So say you've got like a load of, say you've got some breaks that you've purchased, or a selection that have maybe got some kind of pattern going on inherently. You know, they've been chopped already, and so you can put them all in stacked in session view in sequence. And if you enable follow actions, you can kind of set up probabilistic switching between the various ones, and that could be quite a good way to break. Hey, isotonic. Yes. Okay. So you mean like more? I get asked this, so I get this. If there's one question I've been asked like repeatedly, it's that getting them working together. So it really, like, to me, from my experience, I think it depends entirely on the material. So some breaks work better together than others. Like the Amen break and the one of the Think breaks, they're just meant to be. So I would say it's about attuning your ear. What I like to do sometimes is to just kind of throw breaks in that I like, that they kind of they're in a, they complement each other, and I think it's a practice thing. Like, and it's definitely like just experiment with finding breaks that naturally work well together without you having to do anything. Without you having to do any kind of processing, and they do exist, because things like Funky Drummer goes really well with like Hot Pants, or like the Tiny break and the Think break. You know, there's certain breaks that just work well together, but like the Amen break with, I don't know, something else that's quite slamming just might not. They might not work together. Tempo makes a difference as well, and I mean, if you're looking to layer with kind of other drums, then like the thing about, it depends what kind of sound you're after. Like, you know, if you're going for like a more old school jungle thing, then really like all the low end comes often just from an 808. And I tend not to layer any. I just use breaks, exclusively breaks. EQing on your kind of second channel of stuff, so you might just have like a main break that's working well together. But I would say what would be good practice for you is to just work with the breaks alone, and to look to use them in a call and response way. That could be a really good way around it. You know, like a hock hit. So when one sound's playing, the other isn't, and try and get them working well just without any kind of additional processing. Start with the raw sound and see what you can get working with that before you start adding like an EQ or anything like that. But a little bit of high pass filtering on the kind of on whatever the second break is, let's say. I don't know if that helps, but it really is down to your choice of sounds. I believe get it right at that point, and it's much easier than if you're trying to EQ or you're trying to process after the fact. That would be my approach. That would definitely be my approach. And then if you're adding kind of like drum machine style sounds, it gets a bit harder, gets a bit more complicated, because you're often then trying to meld it in with like an 808 or like a Reese, and side chaining can help then. Yeah, good. Glad. My pleasure. But yeah, definitely always think choice of sounds. Composition, you know, first. Selecting your instruments. And then if you still have problems, then that's when you'd be reaching for the EQs and stuff. Okay, cool. So we've done 3 of the 4 now, and I'm on to the last one. Now this one, I sent this as a bit of a wild card. I didn't think they'd want to include it, but Pete, the label boss, said specifically commented on this one, so I was a bit surprised, because to me it was kind of unfinished. So, but I've listened to it in the car and it's good enough. I'm just going to add a fade at the end or something. I'll kind of just maybe see if I can tidy the end up a bit. This one's called Receiver. Yeah, the layering breaks question gets is something that people ask about something people struggle with, and definitely, you know, something I have in the past. Great, all right. Give this a listen from the start. So I haven't even mastered this at all or done any of my own stuff. So Simon, this has kind of got like, they've got a similar thing going on. We've always got like these, how many channels have we got? Like 5 channels of breaks. So we've got kind of this bongo loop. Then another break. God, I've been really lazy there and just literally looped it. But that's probably, this is because this rock steady break has so much going on. I've done loads of chops in this. So a bit of like repetitiveness is fine, and then I've also got this bebop break I've chopped. Oh, in fact, no, sorry, I didn't have this one on. This one's gone. Let's get rid of this. I chopped this, sorry, so it's, and we haven't got this one going on. This isn't happening. That's the rock, so God, I don't even know. So there's kind of 3 drum elements going on, but these kind of naturally work quite well together. There's like no processing. I know I'm probably in the way, but trust me, there's no EQ or anything. Because they're almost different in pitch as well. They are. And then it's all really about this rising, the synth line that comes in about here. And slowly kind of things disappear. These are all like effects, these. Weird feedback effects I've created. And we've got an amen coming in. Yeah, I think that's okay. Like, there's a few like I don't think it sounds as polished as everything else, but like that's not a bad thing. I think it's got like it totally works as a tune and as a vibe, like. And I'm talking just from a mix perspective, so I'm kind of interested to see what happens after mastering with that, because it gives Pete a bit more room to play with, actually, to kind of to kind of apply his talents there. So I think I'm just gonna. Yeah, I think if I export it at 277, that gives just loads of space. And I will have to just leave a little bit in here. Let's just leave a measure. Just so. Just give space to apply fades at the beginning and end. Probably got the loudest bit. It's probably when the bass comes in. So I haven't done any, there's like no... Yeah, cool. All right, we'll just save a version and export that. And then that's all of them done. I'm going to push on a bit and see if I can... I'm also going to just self-release a load of stuff from last year. So I'm going to push on and see if I can export that. So yeah, four tracks finished. It's kind of not something to be taken for granted because it doesn't happen very often. And when you finish anything, it's kind of there's knowledge to be gained from finishing and releasing music that is impossible to gain any other way. You will never get the perspective on your music unless you let it out and release it somehow. Be it put it on SoundCloud, put it on Bandcamp, or get it released with a label, or you will never get that. And it's not even feedback from people necessarily. Like it's not even like it's just some kind of like it's your own perspective on hearing it as a finished piece of music out in the world. It's quite a weird psychological thing actually. Like it's like, oh, so this is what it's like, you know. It's not quite as bad as I thought it would be. It's like, oh, if I can finish this and put this out, then I can. It's just a big hurdle to get over if you've not done it yet. And I always encourage students and everything, if they're finishing tunes, to get them out there somehow. And it's not about people hearing them, it's about the perspective of something being like, you cannot mess with it anymore when it's out. Okay, great. We can cross that off as well then. So that's all the pre-masters done for Ghost Snares. And that'll be coming out at some point in the first half of the year, or at some point this year. There's also another track that's coming out on their next compilation called Harmony, which is again one that I've worked on stream. And that's a bit more... It's less banging than some of these. A bit more mellow, a bit more breaksy. Yep, amen, Simon. Like again, like another student story. Or one thing that I do say is, like, if you want to finish music, if you want to get good at finishing music, then you have to finish music. You know, it's like it's something you can. It's like, you know, it's easy to start tracks. It's easy to maybe work on them a bit. It's easy to maybe spend hours on them. You know, sometimes. I don't know if that's true. It's certainly easy to start them, but like finishing them is something that should be practiced as well. And once you kind of realise that there's you know, it's not as big and scary a thing as you think it is, and that it's actually okay, you know. People don't hate me and who I am and what I believe in, you know, because there's all that stuff tied up in it when you do anything like this. They don't think I'm crap. You know, people don't like then you're like, oh, like, so, you know, it's not as bad. You know, I'm not getting judged by everyone. Then, you know, you can do it again. It's like it's a momentum thing. It's a psychological thing of I've done it once. I can do it again. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Like the fear isn't real. There's so much like fear of social judgment in doing anything, sharing your art, sharing your work. Okay, so they're all done. Excellent. So now I'm going to move on to another set of tunes that I want to release as well. And these are all my own. Let's start with Botanical Envelopes because that was always a popular one. Again, I just want to go through this final checks, and I think I'm going to call this. This one is just going to be called 230121. Cool. I call it something like that. Oh no, I was going to call it. I'm going to call it Botanical Envelopes. And it's going to be a load of dubs from across the last year to all of these tracks. I've got my Trello board open with them in. Plus original. I don't even think I have that on here. So I can either include that or not include that. I don't know, I kind of like that. That kind of... I'll probably have to re-download it. Okay, I'll work on the others for the moment. But yeah, like if you want to get good at finishing music, then you just need to finish music. What can help with that? Well, certainly playing it in a real world perspective. Sorry, Simon, just reading your last comment. No, you don't. I regularly make shit. In fact, like, there's plenty of examples on older streams of me just, you know, sketching the first ideas. Like I don't pass any judgment on what I create in that first session. You know, I don't sit down to make a banger. I don't sit down with any expectations. I just sit down to make something. Okay, what have we got missing here? Just the. That's fine. Is it just that? Because I sketch. Okay, cool. That's all right. We can ignore that. Yeah, you definitely don't. You need to sit down to make music, but you don't need to make good music. You just need to make something. What I do, my process is I sketch loads, I come up with loads of ideas, and I listen back to them after 7 days, if not longer. I decide which ones that I want to work on more, and then I go through this kind of drafting, discovering process, and this is a system from a chap called Mike Monday. He's like a creative process coach, music production coach. But it's very much about the creative process, not DAW specific. And this really works for me and has led to me doing what I'm doing now, you know, which is finishing stuff and getting it out to people. But yeah, that's a good realization. When you get to that point where you're like, give yourself permission to make bad music. Yeah, Simon. Yeah, very true. Very true. Uh, I often end up kind of self-imposed. Like, what's when I sketch a track, I like to just keep it to 8 channels so that I can use uh, just the APC Mini. I will press play again in a sec. But yeah, so that's one limitation. I often, when I listen back to a sketch, I try not to add. Try not to. I like working the sounds that are already in there and trying to make the most, trying to squeeze the juice out of tunes rather than adding stuff in. So if I can strip it back, that's good. I prefer to reduce the number of elements than keep adding. So those are kind of self-imposed limitations. We'll carry on with this one, show. Quite like this bit at the end. I do like this bit coming up. Like goes. Switch his bass line in a sec. This bit. Got this like VHS plug-in. With reactor. Yeah, there we go. So my thinking on this one is, I'm just like, in comparison with the other tracks, I was like the Ghost Snares releases. They've. I like my mastering. I like what I've done. The final sheen on those, and I'm just wondering, there's a choice now if I can live with just putting these out as they are, because there's no, although it's loud enough, there's no mastering on this really. It's just a bit of EQ and a limiter, and that was. But I've played this and I've heard it. People have friends have DJ'd this, and it sounded fine, and like the question is, am I happy doing this and putting it out as it is? I don't know if I am, but the job of kind of going back through and doing all that, it's just a lot of time, and I'm quite keen to get them out, because I don't know why am I keen to get them out. I feel like they're probably ready for me to let go of them. I'm just gonna save that one. Okay, fine. Just save it as today's date. Not done anything else on it. There's the old version of Live. So that was April last year I worked on that one. Jesus. Can't believe that much time has gone. Thank you, Simon. Yeah. I think it's like it's definitely 80%. It's definitely over the 80% mark for me. It would be the last, like, if I could push the mastering a little bit and just make it sound a bit just that last 10% sheen, but also if people like it and vibe with it as it is, why bother? I could be working on something new, It's called Ballistic. Hey, Be Specific, how you doing, man?
Motherfuckers, bring out your ballistics.
I did wonder what would happen on this. Oh, that's bass mono. Oh, it can't be found. Sounded like the bass is quieter than it was. I think because it's quite a low bass line, it comes in like. Huxley there. Terence McKenna. Yes, Simon, that's a really nice pack.
Alright, motherfuckers, bring out your ballistics.
Thank you, Simon, yeah. Yeah, I love that EP, that collection. Yeah, I think I could. I think I would like to kind of remaster these because I think I could do a better job now, and it wouldn't take me too long. I think I could do it in like a few morning sessions. Although I don't know, am I just creating work for myself? I don't know what I want to do decision-wise, so I'm going to. I am going to do that. I'm going to remaster them, and I had a kind of loose goal for the next Bandcamp Friday, but I'm not going to miss. I'm not going to get that. I'm going to have to go maybe for the next one, but I am going to release all of them. I'm going to release all of them. I'm going to remaster them. They're not even been mastered. I mean, actually, just go through my mastering process, just tighten up the mix a little bit. I think for like an hour's work for each track, I would probably be. It would be worth doing. There we go. I've made that decision. This one's a crowd favourite. We are missing some vocals though. Where have they gone? Shinjuku Cafe. That's good. I drink a lot of coffee on stream as well, although this is just like M&S cheapest one. I make myself like a percolator pot every morning, and that is like my addiction. So here we go, folks. This is a good am I going to be able to find these? This is another thing, like if for some reason I can't, I've probably got a WAV though that I could potentially push the mastering a bit on. Okay, let's see if we can find these. Simon, just go, like, I don't know if you're still on, but like this is a good point going back to what you said about the arrangement. To get to the arrangement phase before you land, so like on a flight or something, like my favourite way to deal with arrangement is to just jam it out. Like with the APC, that won't be practical for you, but you, like, I think, like, I don't know if you are stressing about arrangement, or like, one really good tip is to just do it by eye, to not even listen to what you're doing, and to then export it and just see what your thinking is after a few days of not listening to it. You could even do multiple arrangements this way and give yourself like a choice of ones to listen to. That's just a really good way of getting around that arrangement stress that I know people feel, because they're like, that's another thing that people struggle with. Are we going to find this? Are we going to find these missing samples? If we can't, well, this is good, because I now know that I might have to work round that by either just, I've got all of these bounced already and they're probably all WAV. You know, it's the point where I could probably just put them out anyway. Yes, Simon, that's a great idea as well. That's a really good way of getting around it. Like, but when I arrange things, I don't listen back to it immediately. That will be part of the leaving process. So I often do the same thing where I'll come up with sounds and I'll kind of get an idea for a track, and I'll record an arrangement using the APC. I could just choose to arrange the clips anyway, or I could just work across the timeline, but I don't do the just keep going through and like trying to make decisions about the arrangement in that session. I make decisions about the arrangement once I've kind of just sketched one out, if you know what I mean, not real time in the session. I think you get a lot better perspective on that. Okay, so I do have WAVs of a number of these, so I could just, Okay, it is in the rave tapes. It was a rave tapes thing for sure, because it's Darren J and Hype at Jungle Mania first birthday 95. My channel's actually 1 year old as of yesterday as well, so. Yeah. Well, that's you're not alone, Simon. That is a very common feeling. Again, I was talking to a student, and he was saying, when I make these tracks, I'm like, oh god, I'm like, this is great. I'm like a blend of these artists and everything, and my favourite artists, and I think that too. I listen back to stuff and think, pat myself on the back, self-congratulating. But if you're trying to write a piece of music, that's like, it's great to feel that spark. It's just kind of putting it in context of what you're actually trying to achieve, which is just to get a song arranged. Like once you finish it, then you can congratulate yourself. Yeah. Yes. perfectionism is, not is. It's like infinity, isn't it? It's there's no destination to perfectionism because it's not real. Because if a perfect piece of music existed, then everyone would have to agree that it was perfect. And that's not the case with any music, is it? Okay, if this could be a lost cause with this. Yes, but I think, it's good to aim to better yourself and be improving and learning and having some kind of feedback loop between what you're creating and what you want to be creating. That having some kind of objectivity, but too much of it and you will stop. Because you'll never reach it because it's impossible. Again, arrangements like finishing, make tons of arrangements. Just Shinjuku, sorry, I missed yours. Yes, I probably get ads on my channel like that now, don't they? Yes, they can be. There's so much stuff marketed at us music producers. A lot of noise. There's a lot of noise for music, and there's a lot of noise for people trying to sell you things to make music with. What did I see the other day? I saw a plug-in for like find the key of anything, find the key and tempo of anything. And I know that exists in like DJ software, but I think even if you have the information, even if you have the chords and the like, I think it's fine to use them, but also it doesn't mean you'll necessarily make good music, because music is more than just pitch and rhythm, which essentially those packs are doing for you, aren't they? And I don't like my chords being too jazzy, really. I don't like major, minor sevenths, augmented, diminished, whatever. I like quite basic polyphony. Call me vanilla. I'm careful not to confuse excellence with perfection. Excellence I can reach for, perfection is indeed. Yeah, that's a good one. Keep these coming. These are good. Like another good one I said to a student the other day was from the Bhagavad Gita. One has the right to labour, not to the fruits of their labour. So I think that's probably, we're on a similar sphere, we're in a similar space saying that. 90s Jungle was made on simple. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. If you think about what people were using, like Amigas with four channels of MIDI or something, is that right? Maybe 8, I'm not sure. But like with one sampler with like 8 megabytes of space. It's more about using basic tools creatively than it is about what am I trying to say? Like, I suppose because they just didn't have the choice. You didn't have the choices then. Now we do. Now there's like a million plugins, a million this, a million that. You can get emulations of all the old kit and everything. And it's just too much choice. It's like Netflix. It's choice paralysis. I think I might have to call it a day on these, searching for these samples and just cancel this. Although maybe it'll come through. It's a good chance to talk. Yeah, I think like just with some of the processing you see and stuff, and it's certainly a benefit and an interesting area to explore. But like restriction, limitation is the mother of invention. Kind of goes back to what you said earlier, Simon. Yep. restrictions. You know, one thing I like to do is like do splurges with just like 3 channels or something like that. You know, work with the idea I have, work with the sounds that are already in there. Shinjuku, I try to make music most days. I already did some music this morning before I streamed, so yeah, I don't get bored of it ever. I have bits where like my creativity ebbs and flows and it's harder than other times, but I have a daily practice, if possible, of making a tune a day, or I consider things like working on people's mixes as kind of valid music time as well, because I learn quite a lot doing that. But every day, I feel the creative urge every day to sit down and make music. And over time, I've done it so long now that I don't know. It feels strange when I don't do it. That was the whole purpose of kind of starting streaming, was that I would document in real time doing this daily. Now, of course, that hasn't, like, achieving that has been up and down because life gets in the way, you know, and it always will. But every day. And I would recommend it for everyone. If you can do 20 minutes of music every day, you'll see the benefits. God, this is tiresome. I think what we'll say with this one is we know we've got to do... I think I know where this is. I know where you are. Twelve, 5, 3. What's this one like there? Will that work? Yes. Alright, have we got those then? That doesn't look right to me. Might have to come back to the drawing board with this one. 21. What's this one? Alright, so we've got missing files in here. I'm going to have to resolve that at some point. Let's come out of this one. Because I've always got it here. And this may be the case, that this is the decision to just... Oh, these all probably off of my... on Dropbox. This could be a decision to just put them out as they are. But then also I'd like to put the projects out, so I don't... There's going to be some more thinking to do around it. Got the MP3. Shinjuku, I do. Are you actually in Shinjuku? I've been to Shinjuku. I've been to Tokyo. So I've got this.
Original 9mm in here,
So what have I got WAVs for all of these? So I've got a 9mm WAV. I've got ballistic WAV. I probably have a botanical envelope somewhere. I have a WAV of that, I'm pretty sure. We have a WAV of that. So they could just be, what else was the other one? Vibration, ballistic, hold fast and dimensional resorts. I'm pretty sure I have WAVs for all of those too. Okay, so maybe this has made the decision for me that I can't remaster them because I can't, the projects are missing sounds and that might just be too much effort to go. What was the other one I was looking for? Dimensional resort. This is a bit more recent, so there's a chance that I'm not going to save that. Yeah, so the question is, like, I need some more time to let this percolate and make a decision on if I want to try and... So, maybe I need to be more systematic with this. Like, ballistic was okay, although there were some plugins missing. Botanical envelopes was okay. I think there might have been a plugin missing. We know that 9mm has vocals missing. But I do have the WAV bounces of them, so I'm gonna have to think about that one. Have we got everything here? What's missing here? Okay, that's fine. Cool. Don't know why that pitch drop sounds so bad. Huh. That's better. You know, I think that these will be fine, these ones. So Dimensional Resort and then another one called Hold Fast, which is okay. So it's just those earlier tunes. In fact, I'm going to open an even earlier one. The... God, this was 2021. Infinite. Because I'd like to share the project files as well, and if they've got loads of missing sounds, then I just need to know about it, particularly if it's like key bits. I think the plan should be to strike out for the next Bandcamp Friday, not for this one coming up. Okay, this looks good. This looks like it's got stuff in it. Nice bass on this. This is a good example of a project with not too many channels. There's like 14 channels. I really wanted to kind of dig into the breaks on this and do some... Alright, that's good. That one looks okay. And vibration. Do fire any questions at any point as well if you have them. I'm always glad to answer them. So yeah, to recap here, the beginning of the session was just preparing stuff for just exporting the WAVs and things for my upcoming release on Ghost Snares. And after the session, I'm going to send them all over. So I think this one probably... Cheers, Simon. Yeah, you too. Good luck with everything. Come back on another one. Let me know how you get on. Safe flight. I don't see you before. Thanks for all the questions and quotes. 8 channels on this, 8 channels. Pretty good example of digging into the sounds. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so I think it's just questions around the ballistic, botanical envelopes, 9mm, around that swathe of tracks. Ballistic, botanical envelopes, and 9mm. They were all finished about the same time, and I just want to decide what I'm going to do, if I'm going to have a remastering session, and in which case do I have to revisit all of the tracks. But I think I've got a better handle on all of these now, and I definitely do want to release this original. I don't think for now. I'm just going to sketchbook that because I don't want to have to go back through and find everything through it. And that makes a nice 7 tracks, which is lovely. So yeah, to recap, I've exported all of the WAVs for the Ghost Snares, forthcoming Ghost Snares release, which is going to be out at some point this year, and I'll be sending those over. I've also had a look through these latest tracks for my own release, which I wanted to do for Bandcamp Friday, but that's just not going to be possible. I'm just not going to have the time to do that. But I'm going to let a plan percolate as to how I tackle, whether I'm going to remaster, if I am just going to decide to go with the WAVs, but I'm going to need some time to think about that, which is fine. So yes, I'm going to call it a day there. And yeah, I hope there's been some useful information in that if you've watched the whole thing. But really a good insight into kind of the last throes of it. And I know that people have kind of enjoyed a lot of those tunes on stream before, so I hope it pays to see them kind of wrapped up and finished off. And now they'll be sent off. I'll get the masters back, and I'm sure Pete will do a great job first time. I'm kind of not really precious about the kind of last throes of things. For me, it's about, have I done an emotionally moving piece of music, and kind of like the finickiness over sound and like things not quite sounding weighty enough or whatever. I'm not too hung up on it. As long as it's like it's loud enough and it doesn't sound like there's any distortion or terrible things happening in it, like bad audio processing, then I'm happy to just let it go. So I said this to the guys who run the label, that I think they were talking about having these tunes, and I was like, in case I wanted to release them elsewhere or self-release them, and I was like, well, I'll just do more. To me, they're kind of like they are a diary entry, and they've been done now. The pot's been made, and I can't really change it. It's as it is. If I changed it, it would become something different. It wouldn't be the pot anymore. So the pot's finished. The pot's going off to Ghost Snares. Pots are going off to Ghost Snares. Yeah, and the imperceptible changes in sound that no one's going to notice on the dance floor don't really bother me, and I trust Pete to do a good job completely. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure you're subscribed. A like is always appreciated. Share it with your jungle friends, your dubstep friends, your electronic music friends. I do have a Patreon where I share lots of content like the sessions from these sets, which I want to share next, and presets and various samples. Lots of breaks as well. And it's only £3 a month. Supports me, supports the channel. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for everyone for checking in as well. Thanks for all the excellent questions and quotes from Simon this morning. And yeah, it's always good to see everyone on. Good to see Worsley. Good to have some interaction from people. So yeah, I will see you around. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.